It's the third Saturday of the month, which means we're back for another TVGP Game Club game. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpier.
Do we have to be here today?
Yeah, we've made a commitment. Musum.
It's Saturday morning.
That's right.
Oh, God, it really is as well.
Yeah, that's right.
One of us is Saturday morning. One of us is Saturday evening.
That's right. Like Musum said, we're here to talk about Saturday Morning RPG. Let's get all the business stuff out of the way first. Released April 5th, 2012 on iOS, and then over the years kind of trickled to everything else. Developed and published by Mighty Rabbit Studios. Platforms are pretty much everything. It kind of came out on everything, including the Vita. Time travel, Metacritic 68, OpenCritic 74. Peers for the release date, Diablo 3, which... Did not realize that was 8 years old. Max Payne 3, Dragon's Dogma, the original, and The Binding of Isaac, Wrath of the Lamb, which also did not realize that game. Binding of Isaac feels way older than that. But what does time mean anymore?
Yeah. Dude, it's 2062 in my head right now, so...
That's right. Decades have passed. We're going to ask the question we ask every month. Was this game top of the pile, middle of the pack, or overlooked? Overlooked? I feel like this wasn't talked about that much.
No, it wasn't, because everybody was too busy talking about the real money marketplace in Diablo 3.
So angry about it.
It was memories of this stuff.
Because the real money auction house was so bad. It sticks in your... Thank goodness they brought it back. But yeah, everyone else was just like, I'm paying money for... Like, what am I doing? This sword is $2,000. It was nuts, man. Sheesh, as my kid would say. Yeah, it feels like it was overlooked. It just kind of came out, and I feel like in 2012 there wasn't necessarily the fervor for a lot of indie games that has sort of grown over time.
Was that the indie apocalypse period?
It feels like it. I don't know specifically if that was it, but it definitely feels like it would have been that time. Okay. Let's break down. Typically, this game is sort of a special case. We try not to talk to each other before we do the recap recording, just to kind of keep things fresh, and then we have poor impulse control, so we would just sit here and talk about it and be like, oh, we haven't been recording. Oh, no. So typically we talk about what we liked and what we didn't like all together. This is sort of a special case, so first we're going to talk about what we liked. Does anyone have anything?
I have to find the positive in things. That's what I do. I play the most utter garbage. And if you don't believe me, go check out my Xbox Gamer and 2 Gamer Cards to find out just how much garbage I can play. It has a unique look. I will give it that much credit. I don't particularly like it, but it is very unique.
Mm-hmm.
Presentation-wise, it nails the aesthetic it's going for with the VHS and the bedroom and everything like that. Again, I'm not admitting I like these things. I am simply saying appreciate them.
I would debate you on whether it was done well.
I'm grumpy that they got the font on the VHS, like the blue screen where it says play and tracking. The font is wrong, and I'm just like, you got to get those details right, man.
Yeah. So, okay. I think I can think of some carefully worded, very specific things to say about this. I like that the game also likes Transformers and G.I. Joe.
Yes, very clearly.
I actually don't like this detail because I feel like it hurts how well I think of this person as a composer. But it turns out the person who did the soundtrack for this is actually Vince DiCola, who did the soundtrack for the 1986 Transformers movie.
Okay, yeah, because you posted in Discord sort of like, man, this sounds a lot like that movie. Like they're really doing some homage to that. And okay, that makes a lot more sense.
I had not looked it up at that point. I thought they were just ripping off all of his songs, and no, they just evidently hired him and say, "Hey, can you just make tracks that sound a lot like?"
Yeah.
I mean, he had to have just regurgitated those same tracks and put like a slightly different chord movement on a few of them because they were very close. He also did the soundtrack for Rocky IV, by the way.
Okay.
Randomly. Okay.
Let me think. I feel like there's one more positive thing, but maybe not. Maybe that's it.
Okay.
I like that it is a game. Maybe I don't. No, that's
it
incorrect.
Functions.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It very much feels like an ode to a specific game, which I will mention that thing I noticed, which I made a point to Boston last week about, and he didn't notice himself, which I'm really proud of.
Yeah.
It does feel like an ode to the Paper Mario games. Like, I feel bad saying this, but this is 100% the worst of nostalgia-based references, just for nostalgia-based references. Like, referential humor can be good. I know people hate it, but the first couple of seasons of Family Guy was genuinely great, even with the referential humor in it. I liked a lot of those moments were really good references.
Because it didn't solely rely on references as its entire thing. It was just using those to kind of most pieces of media that use references really well use it to bolster what's already solid as opposed to being the only thing.
Yeah, I can give you a really good example of this. One of the best sci-fi movies of all time, if not the best sci-fi movie of all time, Galaxy Quest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is 100% a movie full of references, not direct references, but homages, which
winks and nods,
references.
Yeah.
But it's so strong in everything it does that it's executed perfectly.
Yep.
This 100% feels like do you remember that ... over
the game
and over and over again.
It amazes me how a game, like if you described this game to me, I would think, oh my gosh, I'm going to love it. Like they have these parody Transformers and G.I. Joes in it, and this and this and that.
Up because I saw a quick look at it and I was like, oh, that looks kind of cool in a very brief snippet. Looks kind of cool. So I probably sent it to Boston. I was like, this looks kind of like it might be a decent little game.
Yeah.
Let's see what it's got.
I think this was like someone had their 5-year-old write this game. That's how I feel about the quality of the writing in this. Like, there's no depth or interest to any of it. Like, none of the jokes land. Like, it's amazing how much I don't like that they are trying to bathe in these things that I love.
I was telling my wife this morning that it reminds me a lot of that kid in high school who like really clicks with like Zeppelin or Pink Floyd or Queen or something, like an older band. You know, I was going to high school in the late 90s, so a lot of kids were discovering like the 70s bands that were great, and just like that.
My age would be like Nirvana, the kid who got really into Nirvana at high school, and it's like, I don't know who the hell they are.
Well, and like it becomes their entire identity, and they are insufferable about it. And I was very much that kid in high school. So this game feels so much like that, where like the thing that broke me in like episode 1 or 2 was you run into a character, Willis, and they say something, and the main character says, "What you talking about, Willis?" And I was like, I swear to God, I will destroy this game. And it's that whole thing where it's like at every single point, this game is like tripping over itself to make 5 references all at the same time. It's like, yes, I get it. These Transformers are doing drugs, and 80s was a big say no to drugs thing. Like, I get it. You don't have to keep beating it into me.
The main character's name is Marty.
Yeah, like, God. God. I hate this game so much.
He's dressed like Spike from the Transformers cartoon.
Yeah.
And he's given his binder of power or whatever it's called by a guy who refers to himself as the Wizard and is wearing a power glove.
It's just
I hated that so much.
The reason I didn't talk about this game at all during the What We Like segment is there's literally zero redeeming qualities about this pile of garbage game, and I hated every single minute of playing it. It is so poorly made and is so poorly designed and has the audacity to be unfinished. Worst of all, I finished episode 5.
I was not expecting that either.
And it's just like, oh, that's episode 4 was like 15 minutes blissfully, and then episode 5 was miserable, and then doesn't even wrap anything up.
So I want to talk about how much I despise the combat system for a minute.
Yes, yes, let's please.
Because
before we do that, actually, something we usually do that we forgot to. Platform of choice. Let's go around.
Switch.
PC.
Okay.
Because I wasn't spending money on this game because at the moment I don't have any money.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who is a family member, wink, wink, already purchased this game, probably as part of a bundle.
Sure, yeah.
So I played it on PC. They have 2 different sets of button prompts. That's fine. That's great. They have the PlayStation face button and they have the Xbox face button options.
Okay.
You turn on the button prompts. You get one set of button prompts, whatever it is. You get that one set of button prompts with that, and then it switches back to keyboard.
Fantastic.
The controller works, but it says the keys on the screen. I spent the first 15 battles trying to figure out how to block because it kept on saying Z, and I was like, I don't know what Z.
I don't have a Z key
on this controller.
Just push the H button.
I literally, because it's an ode to the Paper Mario game, so it's timing based defense.
Right.
So I was just trying to time different button presses to see what happened when I pressed the different buttons.
Right.
I had to install a fan made mod to keep the button keys on.
Gosh,
the screen.
So perfect for this garbage fire game. But yeah, let's talk about the battle system.
That made me think I was going to ruin my one good set of nunchucks.
Mm-hmm.
Good, or they're not nunchucks. What are they called? Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Tomato at this point.
It starts the battle, and I swear every time it starts the battle, I forgot. You were greeted with your scratch-off things on your binder.
Every time I'm just like, oh god, that's right. Wiggle.
Yeah. I started the game in full screen, and after realizing I was going to destroy my Switch controller because they don't want you to mash an A button or something, they want you to move the left joystick when you aren't messing with the screen.
The Switch, that's a problem, all right. But is this the game that gave you drift?
No. That was Stardew Valley.
Okay.
This would have absolutely destroyed. I played this on a Pro controller, but this would have absolutely destroyed my my Joy-Con.
Gosh.
Go ahead.
So you have to mash through that, and then you they start battle, and you can't really do any damage. So first you have to buff your guy with whatever the battery thing.
Every turn.
Interesting concept. Really poorly executed.
Yeah, because you do so little damage with any attack unboosted that you have to boost at the very least one time every turn. So why is that in there? It should be a limited thing for that you save for the boss, so you can just do super damage to the boss. But having to do it every single turn invalidates the need for it. So you're literally wasting half of your turns in every single battle.
Yeah. The way I got through the game was I bought the Karate Kid headband, which when you equip it, you use it, it gives you a plus 50%, I think, to strength, and then it also gives you a counterattack when they run up to you and hit you, not when they shoot you.
Okay.
So, I would boost, I would put on the headband, and then I would inevitably be able to kill 1 to 2 guys just counterattacking. And then I would use the stupid compact disc throw or the pencils.
The strongest move in the entire game is just throwing CDs or laser discs or whatever. Probably
it's
laser discs
ridiculous
in
that
this
you
game.
start out basically with the best weapon. Like
Yep.
none of the other weapons I thought were worth anything.
I used the Transformers attack because it attacked
truck
multiple
one?
enemies.
Yep. That was a good one.
And I also used the I think it was He-Man's sword because it was super powerful.
So I stopped messing with that one because it was another button mash thing. Like, if you want me to hate your game, put in lots of button mashing because that is the thing I hate most. I'm glad at least for the batteries they had a non-interactive version of that because I would not have finished the game.
Yeah, I use the third one where a bar fills up 4 times. And
I
you have to
use
just
that one a lot too.
Yeah, I just clicked it at the end. I love RPGs, and when a battle.
No. Let's not undersell this.
Sure, I have a podcast about RPGs
right now with 2 members of the Picking Up the Pixels.
That's right. I have a podcast about RPGs, and so when a battle system really clicks and everything in a battle system complements itself, every battle feels really great. Like, take a look at Lost Odyssey. Every single one of those battles in that game was just like, hell yeah, man, I'm going to fight. This is awesome. I dreaded every single battle in this game, whether it was just I'm fighting 2 or floating orbs or I'm fighting a boss. Every single one of them was a miserable, soul-sucking experience. Every time. And on top of that, 99% of this game was stupid easy, and I was not grinding at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I literally was skipping battles.
Yeah.
I was trying to, but the enemy has such a freaking wide berth for starting the encounter. Like, and the thing that annoyed me too was like you get to the end of the battle and they do your stats screen, which takes forever to get through, by the way,
and seemed meaningless. I don't know what I don't know what this bar chart is. Like, what are you trying to tell me?
I figured it out at the end. What they was 3
it's 3
bar graphs that they instead drew a line graph on.
Yeah, it's a bar graph that they just drew a line over the top, basically.
Oh my god! Okay.
I did not realize that till literally this morning.
Offense, defense, and magic. And I only know that because I spent 10 battles not being able to defend, so my defense one, it always went, then straight down into a valley and up into the strength while I was trying to figure out how to defend.
Okay, so it fails at charts too. Okay.
So, but then when you level up, you are greeted with a screen that looks nearly identical that because I'm trying to get out of the stupid level up screen. Oh, great. I just selected whatever the default
I hope it was good because I don't know what it was.
That's how I ended up with magic of 7.
Yep, 100%.
Yep. I think my speed was up to 4 because I caught it once.
Right, and you're like, I don't
choose
want
something different.
It's like I don't want speed. I just want attack. Just. It is I can appreciate what they were trying to go for graphically. I think it is a supremely ugly title, and I get it, but I think they didn't. I don't think they did it right to the point where it's like, oh yeah, they're trying to be like an old game, and they kind of. But like every time they zoomed in on anything, it's just like, oh god, guys, this is not good looking.
They waste so much of the player's time with the map design. Like when they finally introduced the big city hub, it's like, why is this here?
Like, why am I even doing this?
Like, you can talk to half these people, but they don't do anything. Like, you just want me to wander around the map and do fetch quests? Like, at least consolidate the map more.
They want you to wander around the map so that you can deliver more references.
That's right.
Pretty much. But it's a giant waste of time. It was it was real depressing to me when I first went to, what was it, episode 4, which was in the snowy place. And it's like, well, crap, all this looks alike. And now here's a really annoying bridge puzzle that I really just want to get through this thing. And now I have to solve this. And
signs you can't read because you don't have the item.
And I don't even know how I got through episode 5. There was a door that had a shield in it. And that's where I was supposed to go, and I couldn't. And I just wandered around and eventually wandered back, and it was gone. So I have no idea how I triggered that.
Yeah, episode 5 breaks one of gaming's most important rules. They have a shielded door that requires you to hit 3 like pedestal buttons, and there's one right next to the door. And once you hit that, like one of the lights goes from red to green. So there's 2 more. It's like, okay, I probably have to hit all 3 buttons. 2 of them are in that area. One of them is behind a door, like hidden in the corner, and another area. You have to put all 3 of them in the same area. Otherwise, you're not going to look for them. Like, I just gave up at some point. I was like, well, I'll just explore the rest of this area because I guess it's not here, and I found it tucked in a corner of somewhere else.
You see, I was trying to click on the pedestals, and I could not tell that anything was reacting to me when I clicked on them, so I just assumed it was just a decoration.
Yep.
God,
Yep.
This is...
There's a miserable mess of a game that I hated every second I played it.
Yeah. And just in case anybody is curious, by the way, the thing I pointed out to Boston was like, number one, good luck trying to find a guide for this because nobody cares enough to actually like put together a guide.
There's very few Let's Plays
yes.
of the game. That says something.
I considered watching the rest of it. Me, the person who beats every single Game Club game, considered being just like, screw this, I'm done. But I tried to Google it, so I literally just Googled SMRPG, and the very first hit was Super Mario RPG.
Right, and you're like, son of a game you'd rather be playing.
Really named to hope for the SEO from Super Mario RPG would be my guess.
And like, I feel badly because like I really understand what the game was going for. It's this, it's this thing where you're watching episodes of a TV show. It's very much the thing that Galaxy nailed, where it's this. You're watching another episode in a season. You know, each one of these tapes is like, oh, I recorded this thing off of Saturday morning cartoons, and I'm watching them. And the reason they're all sort of disjointed is because they're all kind of mashed up with the shows that would display or would come on a Saturday morning, cartoon block. And I think that's such a cool idea, especially as you start sort of mixing and matching. There's a cool like worlds colliding mashup thing you could have done. But there has to be something else other than just reference after reference, because then you don't have a story. This game didn't have a story other than here's G.I. Joe's. That's funny. The one guy's yelling because he's blind and deaf for some reason. Oh, their home base is in an active volcano, but they don't go there because it's an active volcano. Like, there are a couple of threads here where it's like, man, if you would just pull on some of this stuff a little bit, you would kind of have a solid thing here. But instead of pulling on that, they're just like, here you go, Alpha's in the game. It's just like, God, why?
It felt like a race to the next reference. Like
100%.
You can do so much better. Like, make the references, that's fine. Cut like maybe 80% of them out. Keep your big hits, because I'm English, so a whole bunch of this stuff meant absolutely nothing to me because I'm not American.
Right.
My Saturday mornings was SmackDown, and then if I was really, really lucky, maybe Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
That's right.
And a couple of other cartoons. Like, we didn't get G.I. Joe. We barely got Transformers. The only reason I know Transformers is because I had the VHS tape that I destroyed through watching it so much.
This game feels very much like the reason why people hate Ready Player One.
That was actually going to be my next point, was like, Ready Player One does it really, really well. I think, because I like the Ready Player One book. Don't get me wrong. The movie is okay if you want to.
It's a separate thing
and be assaulted by references.
Right.
But I like the book because it makes references, and clearly it's referencing a guy who grew up in the 80s and has that love for that time. But there are characters. There's a plot line. And they jump, like, they develop people and arcs as they make the references. It's not reference.
It's not just the character that the main character has a crush on. It's just April O'Neil. It's just like, no, come on.
I mean, in Ready Player One, especially like the book, like I don't like the movie, but the book, which I do love, like the whole basis of that is these characters treat 1980s pop culture as historical things to learn.
Like as a historical record.
They are like, you're getting semi-education on these various, legends and TV shows and whatnot.
It's like mythology.
But also like the societal implications around all of that. Like they talk about like Michael Jackson's Thriller being one of the greatest albums of all time, regardless of whether you like it or not. It is.
Right.
Like they talk about all that. They go into depth, like you said. Like it's learning about the past, not just her DeLorean.
Right.
Well, and Ready Player One's not like, they have jokes in it, but it's for the most part not a comedy, right?
Right.
Like this is intended to be a comedy with no story, and they don't pull off the comedy. Like either they needed to add depth to Marty and his desired girlfriend, which probably
rough.
get 10 lines through the whole movie or show, whatever the heck it is.
I'm on a space station. Don't worry about it. It's just like, what?
That is like a Back to the Future 2 thing, though, where they just dump Marty's girlfriend in the trash.
That's true. Oh.
I feel like this game was made by someone who doesn't like RPGs. Like, that's how I feel about the combat system. Is they looked at it and they said, I really don't like how non-interactive RPG turn-based combat is. How can I take that and make it something better? And they made it so much worse.
You think it's because maybe they didn't like the Final Fantasy series, or they don't like that type of battle, but they did like the Paper Mario stuff,
right?
And they're trying to figure out how to evolve on that.
Well, that's a blind spot for me because I have not played any of the Paper Mario stuff.
So the Mario RPG series is actually really great, largely because it turns those turn-based fights into interactive things. Like if you hit like the A button at the right time as Mario is hitting the enemy, you do extra damage, and you learn that timing over the game. Same with defense. What this game was trying to do is very much what the Mario RPG series has done, where right before the enemy hits you, you hit the A button, they do a lot less damage to you. You can get through the battles without doing it, but it just kind of speeds the whole thing up.
The thing with that as well, that's also based on a knowledge of what the Mario games are. So like in one of them, when you use the green shell, he throws a green shell at the enemy and it hits the enemy, bounces back and comes towards you. And your defensive move is to jump over it as it comes underneath you. Or if you time your jump right, you can jump, land on it, and it'll bounce back and hit the enemy again. Do
like 2 or 3 attacks. And I feel like one of the largest things that this game fails on, that a lot of the Mario RPG games have done really solidly, is give you any level of feedback for that interaction. Like, you hit the button, but the game will pop up and say too slow or too fast or stuff like that. It's like, okay, I now know I can kind of rein in where I'm hitting that button for each individual character. But this game is just saying like radical defense, bummer defense. It's like, cool, but like, is radical and tubular, which one of those is better? Like, I don't know. Is that the better defense than the other? Like, did I get the timing right?
My favorite thing about that is, depending on the time of the 80s, one could be better than the other.
That's true. Yeah.
It might flip within a 2-year time space.
Right. And it never gives you that feedback of you got really close on it, but you're just like a smidge too slow or too fast. Or like, for me, it was just the enemy jumps at me and I hit the button and then it does its wind up and just hits me anyway.
Well, and I didn't necessarily mind the press button to block stuff. Like, I felt like their
QT stuff that got to you.
Well, I think the sound effects aspect of it told me enough that I could press that button typically near the right time. Occasionally, the enemy or something would not telegraph enough of how much time or what I needed to do, or it wasn't clear that, like, I didn't know for the longest time if I got a perfect block on someone throwing an object on me, it would reflect the object back.
Yeah, I didn't learn that until like episode 4. I was like, that would have been super helpful.
But anytime I have to mash a button to fill up a meter, I immediately start disliking your game. Like, just that is a mechanic that should have died with 8-bit. Like,
yep.
How do you feel about Shenmue?
I've never played it. Do they do that a lot?
Just stay away.
I will never play Shenmue. I hope that's not on our list. Maybe I will play Shenmue.
No, I don't
no,
I don't like Shenmue, so
I would veto that thing so fast.
There we go. All three of us don't like Shenmue, so perfect. I think for me to sum up, I think this is one of the worst games I've ever played, and it is.
Sorry, the reason I'm laughing is because generally speaking, all three of us are usually very positive on things.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some silver lining to this trash heap of a game, and it can't get out of its own way to stop making references to make it a good story or game or experience or anything. And it fails at every single level and every single facet of what it's trying to do. And I'm pissed off that the game has wasted my time. Yeah. And it's really frustrating because you can see little glimmers of hope, little sort of sunlight rays that are poked through these rain clouds. And there was opportunity for this game to be so good, and it just squandered every little bit of promise it had. And I'm so angry.
It has the bones there for the most part, right? If you hired a good writer to come in, they could probably piece together a writing thing. If you hired a level designer to come in, they could probably tone down the levels, maybe add some prompts, do some, quality control game, have some quality control gameplay and say, you know what, maybe we're having people mash the buttons too much. Can we lighten that up or get rid of it or something? Like, they could do a number of things to make it a more feasible experience. Like, I feel like this was written by a programmer.
Yeah.
Like, I've been on those game jam teams where we briefly talk about story and we're like, yeah, none of us are writers. We'll just put this thing together and hope for the best. And, it's never good. If you put a story in it, there's never a good story in it because of that. Because everyone's discounting that. No, you actually do need skill to write a story. Like,
yes.
Not just anyone can make something that everyone wants to read. But,
yeah, I mean, you guys have already pretty much said everything that I would say for it. Like, I'm not going to lie, like, I'm having a rough 2020, a very rough 2020, and a particularly rough end of 2019, too.
Mm.
This is the first time I have literally had to force myself, and I do mean force myself to get through a game. Like,
ditto.
Did you 100% it? Oh, wait, you were doing it on Steam, so you probably...
I did it on Steam for several reasons. I'm glad I did now. Because I don't want to look back at this thing again. I just don't.
And by the way, you can't 100% it on Steam because there's an achievement for finishing episode 6. Whoops.
Oh. Look forward to never playing that.
Yep.
Like, honestly, like we said, we very rarely talk about these things outside of the show. We tend to save everything for the show itself.
Yep.
I'm going to paraphrase Boston here last week when we did I think we'll refer to it as the grunt check from now on, when we get a feeling of a game based on audible sounds. Boston said, well, something's got to be the bottom of the list for the ranking at the end of the year.
Yep. 2019 had Tokyo 42. 2020 will likely have this game. If there's another worse one in the list, I don't know what it would be. Yeah,
Please tell me. We need a veto rule if there's something worse than this. Like,
at some point we just meet like a week later where we're like, hey, nope. we're rolling the dice again. That's not...
Do a quick announcement.
The only silver lining to this game is something I totally forgot. Mighty Rabbit Studios eventually spun off into limited run games. The success of their early titles started limited run games, which I was wondering why limited run games did a run of this game, and now I know why. So
they did let's see, which one did it say? The physical version for PS4 is limited to 1,980 copies. 1980.
I want to fight them so bad. Oh my god. Okay, let's leave this game in the rearview mirror of our DeLorean. I'm sorry, and let's talk about our next game here for next month. I'm tired of the randomizer choosing games, just in general. So
it's the 2020 effect. Let's just call it that from now.
Yeah, like Hell Year has. I want less surprises in Hell Year and more of us enjoying great stuff. So the three of us have come together and chosen our next game, which is Return of the Oberdin, or Oberdeen. I guess we'll find out. It came out on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. This is a game that I think all three of us have been looking forward to playing since it was announced. It's like, ooh, hello, this is someone made a game for me.
Speaking of retro styles.
Yeah, speaking of an old style, hopefully done right. Yeah, we're going to play that for the next game, and it's available on pretty much everything for about $20. And it seems like it goes on sale pretty regularly. So now that we've announced it, as soon as I go buy it, it will be on sale for probably about $3.99. So give me a couple of days before you pick it up.
We'll watch color. We'll get a friend of the show, T-Bomb, to buy it, and it'll go on Game Pass. So
that's right. Yeah. All right. So we'll play Return of the Oberdin for next month, and we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
See ya, I guess.
Bye.